Honestly, it's been a really tough year for Katy Perry. Hopefully these two can work it out. They have a young daughter.
Did you and Orlando talk while you guys were like kind of not broken up, or no?
Ish, kind of. And for as strong as I am, I was like, no, I do have needs.
He goes with you.
He's a real emotional support animal, because I'm very emotional right now.
Making cryptic comments, Katy Perry, amid rumors she and Orlando Bloom are on the rocks.
The song was about a breakup, and this Tim Tam saved me.
That's Katy on stage in Australia as Orlando reveals who he's leaning on half a world away.
Orlando Bloom is done with Katy Perry. After her terrible album and her cringeworthy tour, Orlando Bloom decided to check out of his relationship with Katy. Even though he tried to support her during her rough times and even defended her trip to space, their relationship reached a breaking point. And according to sources, there's no turning back.
He's a real emotional support animal, because I'm very emotional right now. He's my emotional support animal.
The actor's been taking his teacup poodle Biggie Smalls on a press blitz, while Katy's been dealing with more fallout from her trip to space.
Katy Perry might be on her Lifetime's tour, but she won't be spending her lifetime with Orlando Bloom. According to sources, these two have split up. Damn it, Katy, it's been a rough year, and supposedly she's stressed out over this album and the tour, and it's caused tension within her relationship. Maybe you shouldn't have made that album with Dr. Luke.
Plus, lackluster album and ticket sales. Our source says things haven't been great, and Katy has been upset over the backlash.
It is a larger-than-life show. Hold tight to your popcorn.
I remember one time I read one of the main reasons people do divorce or split up. These two are not married, just making that clear, but one of the main reasons why a relationship could break up is because of financial stress or career issues. Now, I don't think that these two are stressed over money, especially when Katy is taking a joyride up in space, but she is supposedly deeply frustrated following the reception of her new album.
Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom's relationship status is in question. The hot and cold singer and the Lord of the Rings alum who went public with their romance in 2016 and announced their engagement 3 years later have become the subjects of major breakup speculation this month.
Very stressed. Orlando was understanding, but it did cause some tension. A second source adds that Katy, who's currently on tour right now, was disappointed in some of the tour reviews. It's put stress on their relationship.
Multiple outlets have reported that tensions between Katy and Orlando, who share daughter Daisy Dove, started growing back in September 2024 when her 143 album received bad reviews.
You guys, Katy Perry might be on stage performing like everything's fine, but behind the scenes, it's a whole different story. Orlando Bloom has reportedly walked away from their relationship, quietly stepping out of the picture after calling her Blue Origin spaceflight cringeworthy and allegedly refusing to even talk about setting a wedding date after 6 years of being engaged. Yeah, insiders are saying this breakup has basically already happened. They're just waiting for her tour to end in December to make it official. And honestly, the clues have been right in front of us for a while. But what's wild is that this isn't just about some celebrity split. It's about a pattern, a slow unraveling that's been happening for years. From her tour flopping, her album getting dragged online, fans calling her performances sloppy and desperate, and even Orlando low-key shading her publicly in interviews. Like, we're not even talking cryptic anymore. He literally said they're in two different worlds, and that their relationship is really, really, really challenging. Not just challenging, 3 reallys. So, yeah, it's messy.
And the couple's relationship allegedly became even more strained when Katy kicked off her Lifetime's tour back in April, supposedly causing them to spend more and more time apart.
And people online are starting to wonder, was this whole relationship ever really stable? Or was it all just for show? They've been engaged since 2019, but never set a date. Katy even got called out by fans for ranking Orlando 3rd on her best lovers list, behind John Mayer. Yikes. And now, she's on tour, trying to hold it all together, while Orlando's out in Miami alone, reportedly house hunting and completely checked out of their life in California. So, let's get into it, because the way this has all played out says way more than any press statement ever could. How did a 6-year engagement go from fairy tale to fallout? And what's really going on with Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom? Okay, so we've got to talk about this space flight, because apparently it was the moment everything really fell apart. Like, of all things that could break a couple, Katy Perry's quick trip to the edge of space somehow became the final straw. And no, I'm not even exaggerating.
A source tells People June 9th, quote, she was also disappointed in some of the tour reviews. It's put stress on their relationship.
Multiple sources say Orlando Bloom was not on board with it, and he reportedly thought the whole thing was embarrassing and unnecessary. Now, to be fair, Katy has always been extra. Like, we know this. She's bold, dramatic, lives for spectacle, but flying with Blue Origin in the middle of album backlash and a chaotic tour just felt off. People online were like, is she chasing headlines because the music isn't landing? And honestly, Orlando may have thought the same thing. According to Page 6, the space stunt actually triggered a huge argument between them. And that was when Orlando started emotionally pulling away. And let's not forget, this wasn't just a random PR event. This was Katy going full astronaut mode while her album 143 was tanking. Critics called it unfocused, tone-deaf, and fans weren't exactly vibing either. Plus, the timing? Terrible. Her Lifetimes tour had just started and was already getting roasted online for bizarre visuals and awkward choreography. And then boom, Katy launches into space like she's trying to escape all of it. Orlando, on the other hand, was nowhere to be seen.
But Katy's busy career isn't the only cause of the alleged split, according to the rumor mill. Reports have also accused the pair's years-long engagement of causing issues, with one source telling Us Weekly June 10th that they, quote, never set a date for the wedding or got around to planning anything.
He didn't promote it, didn't post about it, didn't even attend any events tied to it. People close to them say he thought the whole thing was a distraction, something that made Katy look more unhinged than empowered. And after that, he was spotted solo in Miami, skipping events, and spending more time away from California. This wasn't some surface-level disagreement either. Insiders say Orlando had supported her through so much: tour stress, album pressure, parenting, but that flight made him question if they were still aligned at all. And to be fair, when your fiancé is literally launching into space while your personal life is in shambles, yeah, that's not nothing. But the space stunt wasn't even the worst of it. The public's reaction was brutal, and it only made the tension worse. People were dragging her for everything, from her outfit to her poses, calling it desperate, glitchy, and out of touch. And if Orlando was already on the edge, that kind of backlash probably didn't help. But if you thought that was rock bottom, wait till you hear what happened with her tour. So let's talk about the tour, because if the spaceflight cracked the surface, this tour shattered the whole thing. Katy's Lifetimes tour was supposed to be a comeback, a celebration of her legacy and her newest album 143. But instead, it turned into a meme. Like, people were not just critiquing it, they were dragging it. Clips started going viral on TikTok and Twitter of Katy doing this weird robotic pole dance routine in a glittery spacesuit, and the comments? Brutal. People were saying things like, zero gravity, zero talent, send her back to space, and even calling the whole thing AI glitchcore.
E! News has reached out to reps for Katy and Orlando but has not received a comment. And while both have yet to address the split speculation, the Pirates of the Caribbean actor stepped out for the premiere of his new film Deep Cover at the 2025 Tribeca Film Festival on June 10th without the Roar singer by his side.
Not even joking. Someone said she looked like a malfunctioning NPC on stage. And while Katy has always leaned into camp and theatrics, this time, it just wasn't landing. And here's where it gets real. Even Katy, who's usually unbothered, started cracking. In interviews, she admitted she's been struggling with the criticism, saying it's been really hard and that she has to remind herself not to read the good or the bad. But you could tell it was getting to her. Fans noticed her tone on stage changed. She started making cryptic comments before certain songs, pausing for longer, and once even told the crowd that a Tim Tam, yes, the cookie, was what saved her from a breakdown. Now imagine being Orlando Bloom during all of this. Your fiancé is getting publicly roasted online night after night. She's emotional, she's spiraling a bit, and you're trying to be supportive, but she's also not listening. Insiders say Orlando was supportive at first, but eventually the non-stop chaos wore him down. And it's not just the performance itself, it's the whole rollout. The album got lukewarm reception, the visuals felt dated, and even fans who wanted to root for her were confused by the messaging. The whole thing just didn't feel like the Katy Perry they knew. And that's the thing. This tour wasn't just a flop, it symbolized something deeper. Katy's been trying to reinvent herself for a while now, but nothing's really been clicking. And with Orlando reportedly pulling back, it's like everything hit at once. Her career, her confidence, and now her relationship. But it turns out
Katy also shared a cryptic message about heartache while on stage in Sydney for a concert on the same day, telling the crowd during a song interlude, per a clip published by the Daily Mail June 11th, quote, "This song is about a breakup, and this Tim Tam saved me."
the wedding that never happened? Yeah, that wasn't just a coincidence. Okay, so let's address the giant diamond in the room, because Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom got engaged 6 years ago. 6. And yet, no wedding, no date, not even a plan. And look, sure, some couples wait, they take their time, but 6 years? That's not just slow, that's, we're not doing this energy. And people noticed. Like, early on, fans gave them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's the pandemic, maybe they're busy with their careers, maybe it's parenting. But now, it's starting to feel like that engagement was more about optics than actual intention. And the biggest red flag? The ring. Because get this, fans did a side-by-side comparison and pointed out that the engagement ring Orlando gave Katy looks nearly identical to the one he gave his ex, Miranda Kerr. Same floral design, same center stone style. And once that went viral, people were like, wait a minute, did he just recycle the whole proposal? Katy never publicly addressed that, but she did make some eyebrow-raising comments over the years. In her 2024 Call Her Daddy interview, she said that when they first got together, she wasn't emotionally ready and she was still healing from a past relationship. And while Orlando came in with intentions, she admitted she needed space and had to swim in a different pond for a while. Which doesn't exactly scream soulmate energy.
Katy's tour returns to the U.S. on July 10th, and we're told Orlando has been trying to be supportive, but Katy's demeanor has become increasingly frustrating.
And it didn't stop there. They've been open about going to couples therapy, which, hey, therapy can be great, but they said they needed it just to communicate. Like, that's the foundation. And if it's already cracking before marriage, that's a problem. Even Katy herself admitted that their fights can be intense. She described their arguments as hot and fast, then cooling off quickly, saying it's kind of like LA weather, chaotic, unpredictable, and exhausting. That kind of volatility, not exactly the vibe you want when you're raising a child and planning a future. And behind all the public smiles and family photos, there was never a wedding date, not even rumors of one. And now, insiders are saying Orlando's just over it. That he never pushed to finalize anything because deep down he knew this wasn't forever, and honestly, Katy might have known too. But even before this engagement started gathering dust, their relationship had already hit a breaking point years ago, and most people don't even realize how serious it got back then. So here's the thing. This isn't the first time Katy and Orlando have hit a rough patch. In fact, they already broke up once, like fully split back in 2017. And what's crazy is how honest Katy's been about how unstable things were from the jump. In that same 2024 Call Her Daddy interview, she straight up said they weren't really in it together from day one. Orlando, at the time, had just come off a self-imposed celibacy phase, like literally not dating, not hooking up, setting intentions, and trying to stay grounded. Meanwhile, Katy, she had just gotten out of another relationship and was like, I can't do this. I need to swim in a different pond. Her words. She wasn't even emotionally available. They split in early 2017. And while they kept things respectful in public, behind the scenes, it was messy. Katy said she had to do a lot of real work to even be ready for something serious. And when they did reconnect, she claimed it was because she was emotionally crumbling and needed Orlando's support. She literally said, I needed his anchor. Which sounds romantic on the surface,
Adding, he's at his breaking point.
We're both, I think, cheerleaders for each other.
but when you think about it, it also sounds like a pattern of needing him only when things fall apart. And that emotional mismatch, it kept showing up. Katy's admitted she's alpha, super independent, high energy, hyper-focused on work. She even joked that she's all testosterone and doesn't usually need help. But with Orlando, she realized she did need help. She just wasn't used to saying it out loud. They've done therapy, they've tried to recenter. But the truth is, they've always had different emotional rhythms. Orlando's talked about their creative clashes, how they battle their emotions and creativity, and how it's really, really, really challenging. Like, that's a direct quote. 3 reallys. Which, let's be honest, is a brutal thing to say about your own relationship. And even when they did get back together post-breakup, they never truly addressed the deeper issues. Instead, they just sort of moved on. Kept the PR photos rolling, posted cute family moments, but the foundation, still shaky. And when a relationship starts with emotional imbalance, patching it later isn't always enough, especially when the world is watching, especially when careers are crashing, and especially when both people are living completely different lives. But what really gave it away? Orlando's brutally honest take on just how separate they really are. Okay, this part right here, this is where things stop sounding like, oh, they're just different, and start sounding like they were never really on the same team. Orlando Bloom once described his relationship with Katy Perry by saying, and this is an actual quote, "We're in two very different pools. Like, not different pages, not different rhythms, different pools." And he didn't stop there. He added that her world is something he doesn't really understand. And his world, well, she doesn't really get that either. And look, they're both public figures. You'd think they'd get each other, right? They're both famous, both used to press, premieres, paparazzi. But according to Orlando, that's just surface level. Beneath the red carpets and Instagram posts, they couldn't relate to each other's core realities. He's been off doing intense indie films, humanitarian work.
Katy is a little bit more bothered by people hating on her tour and looking at her differently than I thought. I mean, initially I thought she could care less because the tour has been so sloppy, but it looks like she does care at least a little bit.
And mostly staying low-key. Katy's on stage in glitter boots doing space-themed sets and hosting American Idol. It's not just different, it's opposite. And that kind of fundamental disconnect, that builds up, especially over time. He also said, again, this is real, things can be really, really, really challenging. 3 reallys. And yes, I know we already mentioned this, but the weight of that statement deserves repeating. It's not just that they had disagreements, it's that the emotional effort it took just to stay connected was becoming overwhelming, and people noticed. Fans started pointing out how often they appeared separately at major events. Katy walking carpets solo, Orlando being seen in Miami without her. They were spending more and more time apart, and not just because of schedules. Insiders said the emotional distance was starting to show up everywhere. Even in interviews, you could sense it. Orlando joked about needing emotional support dogs, and Katy started making cryptic comments before performances, like dedicating breakup songs or low-key calling out fans for DMing her man. They were still in the relationship, but the energy was off. It didn't feel like a power couple anymore. It felt like 2 people trying to keep a public image alive while privately growing apart. And when someone says, "We don't understand each other's world," that's not just a gap, it's a warning sign. Especially when it's followed by missed appearances, awkward body language, and 0 wedding plans. But if you think this was just about differences in careers and emotions, wait until you hear how parenting, solo tours, and a 4-year-old daughter only made things even more complicated. So here's where things go from complicated to completely unraveling. Because while Katy was out trying to salvage her tour and win back public love,
Katy Perry's cringe tour. Homegirl really thinks she's an astronaut flying through space. The hell is this? Oh no, she's glitching. Table stiff vibes. What in the biggest pole dancing moves is this? She thinks she's running on the moon. 0 gravity, 0 talent. Somebody send her back to space, she's high.
she was also doing something incredibly personal. She brought their 4-year-old daughter, Daisy, on tour with her. Now on the surface, that sounds sweet, right? Bonding time, work-life balance, supermom energy. But for Orlando, it was reportedly the final push that made him emotionally step away for good. Insiders say Orlando was already pulling back. He was spending more and more time alone, traveling solo, and even looking at homes in Miami. And while Katy was out in Australia with Daisy, posting fun tourist moments in matching bluey costumes, Orlando was back in the States, attending events, walking red carpets, and doing interviews without ever mentioning Katy. And this isn't some minor parenting disagreement. Orlando has always described himself as a super hands-on dad. So when Katy took Daisy with her on the road, leaving him on the outside of those bonding moments, it reportedly caused even more tension. Like, imagine seeing your child on social media visiting Luna Park, living that tour life with mom, and you're just not there, Plus, touring with a toddler isn't exactly easy. It's hectic, unpredictable, and not the most stable environment. And some sources claim Orlando was worried about how that lifestyle might affect Daisy, especially when Katy was already dealing with emotional stress from bad reviews, low ticket sales, and her own mental exhaustion. So now, we're not just talking about two people growing apart. We're talking about a family dynamic breaking down in real time. Orlando was reportedly frustrated that everything was becoming about Katy's image, space flights, headline moments, career relaunches, while their relationship and their parenting rhythm got pushed to the side. And honestly, you can see it. Orlando hasn't been spotted with Katy publicly in months, and when he appeared on The Tonight Show, he joked about his emotional support dog like he was sending a message. "I'm emotional right now." And he didn't say why. At the same time, Katy was on stage dedicating breakup songs, making weird comments like, "This Tim Tam saved me," and laughing through the pain.
Not the furry boots. Off to space she goes.
I mean, it's giving desperation. Let's be real, people. This article reports that Katy Perry has been taking in the negativity, and it's been hard. She spoke to people about the criticism she's received, and she said, "You shouldn't read when it's good. You shouldn't read when it's bad."
Fans are watching this unfold and asking, are these two even communicating anymore? Or are they just avoiding the inevitable? Because based on everything we're seeing, it looks like this breakup has already happened. It's just waiting for the tour to end. But it's what Katy said on stage that really sealed it for fans, like she knew it was over. So if there was any doubt left about what Katy was feeling, her own words on stage basically confirmed everything. During a performance in Sydney, right before singing "I'm Still Breathing," she paused and said, "This song is about a breakup, and this Tim Tam saved me." Like, what? That's not the kind of thing you casually say unless you're going through it. The mood shift was obvious. Fans who were there said it felt raw, emotional, even a little sad. And while Katy tried to laugh it off, it was clear she was using humor to cover up something heavier. And then there was that awkward moment with the fan she called out for DMing Orlando. Remember that? She looked directly at them mid-show and said, "I know why you're here. Stop messaging my man." Which, sure, could have been a joke. But when you're making possessive digs like that in public, it usually means you're feeling insecure. Add all this up, and it's not hard to see what's happening. Katy isn't just dealing with bad press. She's unraveling emotionally. And when even her performances start looking like personal therapy sessions, yeah, fans knew something was seriously wrong. Look, fans aren't stupid. They've been clocking the red flags for months. From the recycled engagement ring that looked eerily similar to the one Orlando gave his ex, to Katy ranking him third on her list of past lovers during an interview. Yes, third, behind John Mayer and Josh Groban. People were already raising eyebrows. Then came the constant public distancing. No appearances together, no wedding planning updates, just vague interviews, missed events, and cryptic social posts. Fans started piecing it together, and the consensus was brutal. This was never going to last. One viral comment hit hard, saying, "I'd go lay down in traffic if my partner said our relationship was really challenging on record." And honestly, same. Orlando's own words were enough to convince fans that emotionally, he was already gone. Some people had sympathy for Katy, saying she looked like she was spiraling. Others were more skeptical, questioning if the relationship was always more about image than love.
My therapist said something that really changed my life. What anybody thinks about you is none of your business. It's what you think about yourself. She also said she created the album from a real shift in her life when she became a mother and really tapped into her feminine divine energy.
Either way, the breakup feels less like a shock and more like a slow-motion collapse. And as Katy's tour limps to its final show, the big question now is, what happens after the spotlight fades? So, now that we've laid it all out, the failed tour, the spaceflight meltdown, the emotional distance, the missing wedding, what we're left with isn't just a breakup. It's a slow, silent unraveling that played out right in front of us. And the craziest part? They never officially announced anything. They didn't have to. The signs were everywhere. Maybe it wasn't fake, but maybe it just couldn't survive the pressure. Two huge personalities, clashing careers, different emotional languages, and one daughter caught in the middle. Some fans think Katy was always more invested. Others say Orlando stayed too long out of guilt. Either way, it feels like they both knew this wasn't going to end in a fairy tale. And as Katy sings her last few songs on tour, holding back tears and covering pain with humor, you can't help but wonder, what happens when the music stops? Will this be her true rock bottom, or the moment she finally starts over? Either way, this chapter is closing, and when the spotlight fades for real, only Katy and Orlando will know what was real and what wasn't.